For every cyclist, a basic roadside repair kit is an essential piece of gear that can get you home if something goes wrong in your ride. I'll start with the absolute basics that everyone should be carrying when they're out for a ride of any length. I personally do a lot of touring and longer riding over multiple days, so I'll also go through some good items to carry if you're out for a longer expedition. The most important piece of your bike to keep moving is your wheels. A flat tire can derail any ride, and so it's important to be able to fix one on the spot. A spare tube is one of the most basic pieces of equipment you can carry. Even if you're running a tubeless setup, they're not perfect, and so having a spare tube to throw in a wheel can be the difference between getting home or calling a cab or worse. A spare tube doesn't do you too much good unless you can get the tire off to get it in, and so a set of good quality tire levers are important to carry. I like to carry two because sometimes tighter tires will be easier to get off using a couple of levers. To change a flat, the wheels do need to be off the bike. Depending on your bike, you might be able to take them off by hand. But on a lot of bikes, you may need a multi-tool of some kind with an Allen key in order to take off those wheels. But we'll get into more details on that a little later. If you're running a tubeless setup, a tubeless plug is a great thing to carry. A tubeless plug, such as the Stan's Dart, can be a huge asset in repairing any hole that might come up too big for the sealant to patch. I like the Stan's Dart personally, but you can also carry bacon strips or other types of tubeless plugs. They're basically a plug that you can jam into a hole that's too big for the sealant to patch on its own, and this can help reseal the tire. Of course, you can always put in a tube as well. I also like to carry a small pack of tube patches. While not a permanent fix, they can often make the difference if you accidentally pinch a tube on the way in or miss a piece of debris that caused the flat in the first place. They can patch a small hole in a tube, which can get you home safe. All of these fix options won't do you much good unless you can get air back into the tire that you fixed. You can use a pump or a CO2 cartridge. Personally, I prefer a pump as you can use it multiple times and there's no risk of messing up and losing all your air. However, a CO2 cartridge does fit in a jersey pocket and can be a great option for somebody going out for a shorter ride. When choosing a pump, the brand doesn't matter too much. However, I like a pump that has a hose on the end of it. This allows you, when you're pumping, to have some flexibility, which can take some strain off of the valve, where a rigid pump, as you do this motion, will actually torque the valve and can cause a hole in your tube. Your pump is also a great place to keep a couple rounds of tape. On mine, I have some Gorilla Tape and some electrical tape. This can be useful for all kinds of things. One time, for example, I was riding and the stay on my rack broke. I was able to fix it using a bunch of zip ties and Gorilla Tape, and it got me home with all my gear. A good multi-tool is a great piece of kit to carry with you as well. You can kind of use any of them, but I like to check for a few main features. A set of Allen keys is super important for making any adjustments on the bike, as well as taking the wheels on and off. I like a multi-tool with a chain breaker because that does help fix a broken chain as well. A Phillips head screwdriver can be super helpful for adjusting limit screws on the bike. This particular multi-tool does come with some spoke gauges, which can be helpful for on-the-spot wheel truing, as well as a small chain clip, which can be super handy when attempting to fix a broken chain with a quick link or a pin. I also like to check that my multi-tool always has a beer opener on it. One thing I like to carry is a spare quick link or chain pin. I prefer a quick link as they're easier to install. In fact, they're so small and take up so little weight that I usually carry one for every speed of chain on the market, because you never know who you're going to run into on the side of the trail with problems. On that note, if somebody offers you help on the side of the trail, it's always worth talking to them to find out what's going on. For example, one time I rode past a group of people who was attempting to straighten a bent chain with a rock by hitting it on the sidewalk. They refused my help at first until I told them I was a career bike mechanic with a full repair kit, at which point they were very grateful. If you're doing any mountain biking, trail riding, or longer distance touring, a spare derailleur hanger is probably not a bad idea to carry as well. Any impact to the drive side of the bike can bend your derailleur hanger past the point of return. Being able to pop a new derailleur hanger on and go back to perfect shifting can make the ride home a lot less painful. For longer touring rides, I also carry a couple extra sets of brake pads. Especially when you're doing loaded touring, coming down the hill with all that extra weight can burn through brake pads really quickly, especially if you're on a multi-day adventure. Last, but certainly not least, probably the most essential piece of gear in my kit is a whole bunch of zip ties. You can never carry too many. Like I said, I've fixed a broken rack and it's hauled 80 pounds of gear back home using nothing but zip ties and Gorilla Tape. Put these in your repair kit and they will serve you well. All of this gear, with the exception of my pump, fits in my underseat bag on the bike here. If you have any more questions or want some help picking out the right gear for your roadside repair kit, you can live chat with us or give us a call here in the store.